Hello and welcome to the big picture. The passing of the resolution at the United Nations Human Rights Council in Geneva calling for an independent investigation into alleged human rights violations in Sri Lanka and India's decision to abstain from the vote has set off a debate in the country. The Indian decision, which is seen as a departure from its past decision on such issues, has received a mixed response. Indian government's policy, which was seen as having been a hostage to the politics of Tamil Nadu, is now being seen as having detached itself from it. The US-sponsored resolution was supported by 23 countries, while 12 were opposed and 12 abstained, including India. Why has India decided to adopt this stand? How is it going to help the Indo-Sri Lankan relations? What will be the impact of this decision on Tamil Nadu and its politics? How will Sri Lankan government handle this crisis which it now faces? Many questions have cropped up following the passing of this resolution. We will discuss all this today with Shashank, former Indian Foreign Secretary, Professor P. Sahadevan of the Center of South Asian Studies, JNU, Satya Sivaraman, journalist and human rights activist, and B. Muralidhar Reddy, Associate Editor of The Hindu. Murli has also worked in Colombo for a number of years. Welcome to all of you. Mr. Shashank, I would like to come to you first. Is this decision which the government has taken to abstain from the vote a principled decision? You think it's a principled decision?
It's a principled decision in the sense that we are seeing a lot of activism on the part of the Western countries on global issues and on issues relating to countries which are fairly far away from the West. Now, if it is something to do with, let's say, Iraq or Ukraine or other places, we might take a decision, we might take a view based on certain other factors.
Right.
But when it comes to our own neighborhood, we have to firstly take into account our own consensus within the country, our interests within the neighboring region, and then we have to see what India wants to do with Asia and with the neighborhood. Principles, of course, are there. When we have always stood for human rights, we have always suggested to the Sri Lankan governments that they must make sure that all their communities live in amity and in cordiality. In fact, so much so that our prime ministers have invested so much of their time and suffered also on this account.
No, but do you think that these concerns which you said should be taken into account, these concerns have been taken into account while taking this decision?
No, earlier decisions are not that intrusive. This resolution seems to be fairly intrusive. I would have thought that, neighboring countries and the Sri Lankan population would be involved in this in a much more focused manner.
Involved in this means what? When you say involved in this, involved in the investigation?
Their interests and their views should have been taken fully into account. What we are finding is that the interests only of the domestic constituents of the Western countries are being taken into account.
So you are trying to say that you are generally in tune with the decision of the government?
I would have been even earlier if the government had taken a view that yes, we want human rights to be respected. So earlier resolutions also, the government of India should have made its position much more clear. But we have to work together with Sri Lanka government, but making sure that the Sri Lanka government stands by all its commitments given to India.
So when you are saying that it is intrusive, this decision is quite intrusive because an international investigation agency is supposed to go and investigate what has happened there. So you think that this is something which we need to be careful about?
We have to be careful about it, definitely. And we should monitor the progress of whatever is being done by this investigating body, because it's going to affect India's relations with Sri Lanka, relations within India among various groups.
We will come to the Tamil Nadu aspect of this. Professor Sahadevan, how do you look at this? See, all along it was said that India's Sri Lankan policy has always been, has been a hostage of Tamil Nadu politics. And now some of the observers and analysts feel that for once India has the Indian government has at least removed itself from the Tamil Nadu politics and has taken a decision.
No, I put it this way. I think the Indian policy has been really in a way hijacked by the bureaucracy at a time when the politicians are too busy with fighting elections. My point is this. It's not a completely correct or incorrect position here. The position is, I think that's It's also not the question of whether the West is coming and playing the role in India's backyard. But the point is here, I think that India consistently taken a position, trying to really work with in Sri Lanka. In a way, I think 2012 and 13, India was instrumental in diluting the resolution, which was much more harder than what it was actually presented. Gave an opportunity to Sri Lanka to really look at the whole issues very seriously. And I must say that I think that Sri Lanka failed to really do that. You may have a constraint. That means India may have a constraint in supporting a resolution. Fair enough, but point here is I think the merit of the resolution can't be undermined just because I think we have an interest to really protect. One could have actually really expected Rajapaksa to gone beyond what he has done. In a way, I think the core issue is about accountability. The mechanism or the suggestion was actually to set up the whole internal mechanism, make it more credible, which he has not done it in a way. The point is also.
Are you trying to say that he has brought this upon himself?
Absolutely. I think he got a long rope. He failed to really do what gently expected to do. The point here is also there is always a point of view. Let's look at from the India strategic point of view. We have an interest. Definitely, we must really sort of protect it. No way. I think one is not suggesting that must sacrifice it. But also, I think that you need to also look at. There are certain principles and ethics that we're very wedded to. In a way, we want to really sort of follow it. We cannot be considered ourselves as another China. We are not China anymore. Not anymore. We are not China at all.
At all. Not anymore.
Not at all.
Never been.
Never been.
Yeah.
And therefore, we cannot emulate what China and Russia might do. And therefore, we have an independent position based on certain merits, certain principles. And that's what democracy and human rights.
Professor Sahadevan, my question is, Mr. Shashank feels that we have taken the right decision at this point of time in taking the national interest into concern. If I'm correct from what you're arguing, that India should have gone ahead and supported the resolution.
I think that we could have actually done that precisely for the reason that if you really sort of believe in democracy and human rights, if you don't, if you want to compromise on certain, sort of the ethical dimensions of your foreign policy and national life, I think then it is what you've done is right. But the fact is, I think that we cannot really look at everything from the strategic point of view. When I say also that we must really factor that. Had we been very successful in persuading Rajapaksa to do, a couple of things, that could have actually convinced the world in a way. Or really think that we are unable to do that. If you think that we are unable to do that, it's a time to really sort of join hands with the West. Tell the Rajapaksa regime to really do a couple of things which are very reasonable.
Okay, Satya, Professor Sahadevan says that we should have. It doesn't use the word arm twisted Rajapaksa a little more. But the Sri Lankan president and his supporters feel that they have done enough. They have at least shown their good intentions by holding elections in the north. A Tamil-led government is there in the provincial in the north. And then he says that these kind of resolution, these kind of interference, into their sovereign thing, he says that will affect the process, the reconciliation process which has started there.
Well, to begin with, I would point out that the claim that the resolution at the UNHRC has been to placate domestic audiences in the West is completely wrong, because the Northern Provincial Council, which is an elected body, which was part of the reconciliation process that Rajapaksa started, this body has voted unanimously calling for an independent international investigation. What we have at the UNHRC through the resolution is basically an investigation by the UN Human Rights Commissioner. So it's not a completely independent in that sense, but still it's a good move, which is long awaited, because we remember back in 2000, the same UN Human Rights Council actually passed a resolution congratulating the Sri Lankan government. So the mood was very different. We have come in 2014, we have come a long way, but it is still not enough in some ways. And the reason for that is very simple. What we witnessed in Sri Lanka in 2009 was probably one of the largest and most brutal massacres in modern history. The killing of between 70,000 to 140,000 civilians in the course of 3 months is something that I don't think has been achieved I'm using the word
achieved in quotes. You know,
what I mean to say is that it's
nobody-
an exceptional case. This is not a normal case. I don't think we can talk in terms of neighborhood anymore. And I would also like to point out that the issue of Sri Lanka and the Sri Lankan Tamils is not of Tamil-speaking people. It's of human beings.
It's a human right
a human
problem.
rights
There's
issue.
no,
That's why
there's no
it's
doubt
international
about
today.
it. There's no doubt about it. But the fact of the matter is that, as far as India is concerned, it is linked to the Tamil issue. It's linked to the politics of Tamil Nadu. The fact is that you can't just. Are you trying to say that if Indian government should not be taking all these things into consideration when they take these kind of decisions?
I think
And also the very fact that, I'm sure Shashank will explain this further later. As far as India is concerned, it has to look at its national interest also. The way China has been moving into Sri Lanka, the way Sri Lanka and China wants Sri Lanka to become its virtually its base and things like that. All those things needs to be taken into. Don't you think should be taken into consideration?
No, I think a lot of things should be taken into consideration, but primarily let us look at the history of the subcontinent. After all, in 1971, when India actually sent troops to Bangladesh to liberate Bangladesh, it was not a Bengali issue. Let's be very clear about it. Bangladesh was not a Bengali issue. It was a pan-Indian issue. And similarly, Sri Lanka is not a Tamil Nadu issue. It's a pan-Indian issue. It's a different matter altogether that you have politicians who have tried to make it into some kind of an electoral, treasure trove of some kind. The point I'm making is that it is in India's interest, long-term interest, to make sure that nothing happens in the region which is a threat to democracy and well-being of any community. Because what is happening in Sri Lanka right now, of majoritarian religion, nationalism-based rule, and the terrible kind of ethnic cleansing that has happened in the last 30, 40 years, is a threat to India itself, which is becoming a model for the whole region.
Okay, Murli, how do you look at this? Do you think that the Indian stand is a principled stand? It has taken a stand looking at its own national interest in view, or do you think that it should have gone ahead and supported the resolution?
No, I think India has done the right thing, because the implications and repercussions for India are also quite serious if India had voted in favor of this kind of a resolution, which allows an independent international inquiry into the so-called human rights violations or allegations in another country. Tomorrow it can come down to India as well. What if somebody gets up and says, this is what's happening in Kashmir, we need an international probe? What if somebody says that, Naxals or any other insurgency regions where we are facing? That's one. Having said this, I would certainly agree that the investigations or the so-called investigations by the Sri Lankan government into these violations have been painfully slow, are virtually non-existent, I would say, and the much needed healing touch that was to have come has not come. 5 years has been a long, long time. But I would go back to one interesting point Shashank sir made. He talked about Western activism. I don't know if we know about what happened in Afghanistan or what has been happening in Afghanistan since 1979. I have no clue. To the best of my knowledge, I don't think UNHRC or UN has passed this kind of a resolution asking for an international probe on the role of either the erstwhile Soviet Union or the United States or NATO forces that are operating now. What about Iraq? What about Syria? What about all these countries where the Western countries are directly involved in the conflicts? Would anybody dare pass a resolution like this? And if the academicians start thinking that these bodies like UN, UNHRC are independent bodies, I think they are living in their own world.
Very interesting point you have made, Murli. Professor Sadyan, I would like you to respond to this.
Well, I think the journalists should also understand the fact that I think that this is not a banana republic. You're a self-confident nation, and all the Western activism in a way is precisely because your own creation in South Asia, because you are really so indifferent, you're so weak and meek, you did not really have pursue a policy of active engagement. that thereby in a way not intimidating you in a way, but also bringing out reasonableness in the whole process in a way. I mean, let's not go back to really sort of what really happened in 2009 and all, but fact of the matter is that after 2009, what have you been really able to achieve? So therefore, I think it's India's own creation leading to the proactivism of the West and the South Asia. But the fact of the matter is also, just because it has not happened in Iraq, do you want to really accept the reality in the neighborhood?
Way.
When you have a domestic,
No way.
let me finish it. When you have a domestic consequences, very clear. Whether it's Tamil Nadu chauvinism or nationalism or subnationalism, whatever you call it, when you really try to really sort of fail to address the certain concerns that in a way actually take an emotional dimension, you lead to really result in polarizing your own polity in society.
Okay, Murli, would you like to react to that quickly?
Yeah, I just want to remind the professor, I don't know if he is aware, that about 10 days ago, Sri Lanka said, please also include the period when Indian peacekeeping forces were deployed in Sri Lanka between 1987 and 90, if such a probe is needed. Then
So you are
would he
afraid
agree
because
to
of
this?
that. You are afraid because of that.
No,
I
Murli
mean,
has.
it's intimidation by Colombo. You can really handle it
No, you
properly.
No, this is not intimidation.
I mean, it's
Rajapaksa,
intimidation. It's in a way.
Rajapaksa has said that if this
I mean,
probe has to be done, it has to be done for the last
in a
3
way,
decades.
actually-
It should not be just of the immediate past,
Well,
but the previous, the last
I
3
mean,
decades also.
New
No,
Delhi-
no, do you think that should be that you would that they would
Listen,
accept that approach?
in a way, I think when they really speak, they get intimidated, and you want to really sort of. I mean, are we really sort of?
No, are the Sri Lankan Tamils ready for this kind of extension of a probe to the last 3 decades?
Are the Sri Lankan Tamils asking for it? No, it's not. The demand is not just by the
No, not Sri Lankan.
not by the Tamil Nadu. It's also the
Sri Lankan president is asking for it. So what would be the reaction of the Tamil groups?
Are the Sri Lankan Tamils asking for it? What is the position of that? I mean, in case if it is necessary, let's go back from 1956. How many people really
Yes,
got in
quickly.
a way?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think
that's very correct.
I
I mean,
think-
it's
I think that beyond the heat and light of what is happening in the last even 5-6 years, you really need to at some stage go back to the history of Sri Lanka and the subcontinent, and the British were there. The reasons for all the ethnic conflicts there go back to the British period and the colonial period. And there needs to be some rational understanding of this. The point is that we are constantly behaving as if these are all countries that were born 20, 30 years ago. There's a much longer history.
The conflict is a longer one. There is no doubt about it.
And so if you have a probe, at least go back to the time of Sri Lankan independence and see what all were the policies that were followed by the independent government, what happened to the Indian Tamils who were repatriated from Sri Lanka, why Indian governments agreed to that at all, to disenfranchise a million plus Indian hill Tamils working in the tea plantations. There are many things you can go back into. I think the need of the hour is a kind of white paper, at least from India's side.
Yeah, absolutely.
Honestly speaking, I think that the Indian Parliament should actually try and produce or commission a white paper on what has been the Indian policy on Sri Lanka, because it's been varied.
Okay.
At one stage you
Let me
supported the militants, another
let me
stage
get
you
Mr.
opposed
Shashank.
them.
Mr. Shashank, would you agree with that?
No, if it is being done, some kind of probe being done by Sri Lanka experts, academics and others, or by Tamil experts in India, it's a different matter altogether. But what they are saying, that's all right, something has gone wrong, we have not been able to do anything, so let us call for the West. And then they are saying in 1971 we were able to do that in Bangladesh, which means that in Bangladesh, if we were not able to do it, we would have called America to do the same thing in Bangladesh, whereas the Americans were trying to do just the reverse, to ask China to attack us. So I just can't understand this kind of a thinking. What I am saying, I am not saying that we should work against the interests of the Sri Lanka Tamils or the Indian Tamils. I am only saying by all means, please tell your own experts and people in Tamil Nadu and elsewhere to go and talk to the Sri Lanka Tamils and the Rajapaksa, but give him some time. 5 years you have given him. Now, earlier all the Rajapaksa brothers and everybody else were joined together and they worked in order, so they cannot all be absolved. Now what has happened is that since Rajapaksa seems to be the only one who is left holding the can, therefore everybody has said, okay, hold the investigation, call this fellow's bluff and get after him. No, what I am saying is that let us talk to Rajapaksa, force him to do whatever you want to do to have better communal living atmosphere, better harmony among the communities in Sri Lanka. If your people, academics in Tamil Nadu or elsewhere in India, want to interact with them, by all means, please, we must encourage
Okay.
that
The
involvement.
recent
No, no,
reports
Professor
that have
Sadev-
come out of continuing torture, disappearances, abduction, sexual violence. Just as recently as 5 days ago, Yasmin
No, no,
Sifari.
but-
No, no, we
Satya,
must do all
I
that.
mean,
I'm only
Satya-
saying
It's
that
an
why
ongoing
the people-
process.
No, no, Satya, my question to Professor Sadev and my question is that, you say that this kind of a probe, international probe is necessary. That's your stand. It's necessary. You think that all avenues for what Mr. Shashank says is for some kind of India to get involved in Sri Lanka, and along with the Sri Lankan government try to bring about some reconciliation. That phase is over. You think that phase is over? There is no way we can we should be continuing that, and we should depend on this international organization or international mechanism to bring about whatever you need to do there.
I think the New Delhi is not naive. They understand Rajapaksa regime very well. They have been dealing with him since 2005. Mr. Muralidhar Reddy, who really worked in Colombo, knows better than anyone else. But the fact of the matter is, he give a damn to you. So what do you do when the internal processes completely fail? When the internal processes lack credibility, what options left do you tell me? The fact of the matter is,
Murli, would you agree with Professor Sadevan that as far as Mahinda Rajapaksa is concerned, we cannot take his words on the face value. He has given a damn to what we think, and so this is the only option out.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. He has given a damn to not just India, to the rest of the world. He has gone back on the assurances and commitments that he has made to Delhi specifically. There is no doubt whatsoever about. But is this the way to go about it? Whether we like it or not, he is the elected president of Sri Lanka. Tomorrow, if there have been some ridiculous demands about the need for India to take up the cause of Hindus in Pakistan, are we going to take it up? Where do we stop?
Exactly.
this is too much.
Satya, this is a valid argument.
Well,
I'm sure the Foreign Office, people sitting in Foreign Office will have to deal with these questions and think of what could be the consequences of taking a decision like that.
Let us stop talking in terms of Hindus and Tamils and
No,
so on
fine.
and so forth for a very
He's just
simple
giving an
reason.
Why, when you
example.
talk about ethnic,
No,
Yes,
there
Murli?
is an ethnicity
no,
based.
when you talk about ethnic, why not religion?
No, that's okay. What I
Okay.
am trying to say is that what is happening, and not just as Muralidhar very rightly pointed out earlier, that the West is following a double standard on all these issues. But the point is this, that today we have to distinguish between the modern nation state and the citizen. The nation states are all playing a game, all of them, all around the world.
Absolutely.
And they don't give a damn about the rights of citizens. All I'm saying is this, citizens have universal rights. It doesn't matter whether you're Indian or Pakistani or Sri Lankan. You have certain universal rights. You have the Geneva Conventions, the rights against torture, right to life, so many. And those rights have to be protected, and that's a collective responsibility for everybody. It's not about playing games with strategy and whether China is going to take an advantage. This is quite nonsensical, to be honest
Mr.
with you.
Shashank,
I think
how would you react to that?
the land of Mahatma Gandhi, the land of
only say
Mahatma
that
Gandhi playing this kind of silly strategic politics is shameful, I would say.
I'll take your point as far as human rights is concerned. Human rights should not be a
Human rights
issue
have
of
always been
nations
inviolable,
or-
will always remain inviolable. We are always committed to them. America is committed to them, but America has been the greatest violator of human rights.
So you're
of its own
imitating
peoples.
America, basically.
No, I'm saying
America is
West
the
has
model
been
of the
also
Indian
violator.
government.
Europe has been violator of the worst variety.
Yeah, sure.
The Mongols have been the violators of the worst variety. Who has not been the violator? I'm only saying Indians, perhaps among all of them, have come out with slightly better record. So let us be the investigators. Let us go and talk to the Sri Lankans. Why are we afraid
has
of doing that?
not
Why are
been
we
done
running
so
to
far?
the
India had all
UN?
the leverage, but they've misused their leverage to actually support
No, but last time when we
genocidal
used the
regime.
leverage, we lost our prime minister. So this time we have been little cautious. If you are interested, sure, after elections, tell the new prime minister to go and
You
take
had
interest.
5 years, it's not
I will
about
only to
elections
happy
now,
with
it's
that.
5 years you've had.
Okay, Murli, coming back to you, I want we are running out of time. I want to raise this issue. How is this decision going to affect the politics of Tamil Nadu?
Well, I don't see it affecting politics of Tamil Nadu beyond a point. I just want to bring to the notice of your distinguished panelists. For the first time in 2009, the election promise of Lok Sabha election promise of AIDMK was Elam. But AIDMK lost that election miserably.
Right.
People of Tamil Nadu are not so naive. True, political parties do try and make capital out of issues from time to time, but I will not suggest that voters are naive.
You will not suggest?
That voters are naive. They are not
Okay.
going to be taken in by these.
So, you expect this to become a political issue, the election issue?
I
now?
don't think it will become a political issue beyond a point.
Beyond a point. Sir, Professor Sadevan?
Well, I think it's the point is we are not talking about the politicians whether how far they are able to successfully use this whole card.
You would,
but the
you
fact
would
of the matter
no,
is,
but you would agree.
No.
Would you agree? Would you agree that the government of India's in the last several years, the government of India's policy in Sri Lanka has been dictated by one or the other party or both the parties, major parties in Tamil Nadu?
leave aside the political parties, but you must know the kind of the responses that the people generally
Yes, yes,
make
yes.
in a way. I think 2009 election took place just before the war ended in a
Right,
way.
and
So the results were not really known.
Results
Mr.
were not
Muralidharan
known.
Reddy,
That Prabhakaran was actually
I mean, in a
was
way
held
we-
back. The information was held
Is
back.
held
all
back,
these things.
everything is fine,
So
but
that was all done. Keeping in view the Tamil Nadu
fine,
politics.
but today I think it's things a little different in a way. It's not going to be. I think it's black and white. I think everyone knows the kind of inefficiency that the central government of India really shown in handling this whole issue. I think it's no way that even the center, the Congress party in particular, may be able to cover up in a way. You must know the kind of youth response that really evolved. I'm not saying that is emotionless, is emotion. You may not really like this whole, the things happening in that, taking the emotional dimension. But the fact of the matter is, it is in a way. You're feeding into the fringe elements who really talks in different tones now. So the fact is, I don't really minimize. You may not have a great implications for the Lok Sabha election, which is due now, because every political party is going alone. But the fact is, it's not issue that is out of the general Tamil Nadu politics. It will have an impact definitely after the election. You may see
After
the cause
the
of difference in a way.
Satya, you're talking of leverage, India's leverage with Sri Lanka, which was not used or it was not properly used. But just yesterday we have this vote, India abstained, and I'm sure you are aware that the Sri Lankan president has released a number of hundreds of fishermen who were held. This is one of the positive things. If you see that there has been a huge problem. Why did DMK withdraw support from the UPA on this fishermen issue? Fishermen issue continues to be an electoral issue in Tamil Nadu now. So at least there has been one positive outcome of India's stand on this vote. Would you agree?
No, yes, of course. I mean, the release of fishermen by the Sri Lankan government should have been done long ago, but they've done it now as a bargaining tool. That's okay. But the Sri Lankan issue, and not just Sri Lanka, all our neighbors of India, the Indian policy towards neighbors in South Asia has to follow certain principles. It can't be based on the electoral fortunes of X party or Y party in one part of India. Yeah. It's a pan-Indian issue. It is not. What has unfortunately happened is the whole Sri Lankan issue has been conflated into a Tamil Nadu issue.
Yes.
Which I think is
and whom do you
most
blame?
unfortunate.
Whom do you blame that for?
No, that is the poverty of imagination of Indian politicians and the bureaucracy also,
Okay.
And the media too.
Media
what
too.
I want to say,
very quickly, we're running out of time.
What I'm saying is that we need to take a long-term stand on this. The long-term interests of India, you have to treat people abroad or what's happening abroad on the same principle as you treat people in India. If you're going to allow a massacre in your neighborhood, tomorrow you'll do it to your own people.
Okay. Mr. Shashank,
I
very
would say-
quickly,
I would say
very
that-
quickly.
I would say we should give a little greater leverage to the states as regards the infrastructure and economic connectivity and prosperity with the neighboring regions of the neighboring countries. As far as the political and strategic issues are concerned, there the central government as well as the state governments both have to be brought into the picture, and overall picture has to be taken. and decisions
Murli,
taken.
very quickly, you think this decision, do you see it as a paradigm shift of the Indian government on the Sri Lankan policy?
No, there is no paradigm shift. India has, I think India's position has been quite consistent. What we did last year,
So
and
this
what
is-
we have done this time.
So this is
not very
consistent.
different.
This is consistent with the Indian policy.
Yeah.
Okay. I think on that note we need to end.
Consistently wrong position.
Consistently wrong, as somebody would say. Somebody says it's consistent, as Mr. Shashank says that national security issues, the strategic issues needs to be taken into account. This is a debate which will continue. Thanks to all my guests, Satya Shivaraman, Professor Sadevan, Shashank, and Muralidhar Reddy. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another issue on The Big Picture, same time on Monday. Meanwhile, have a great weekend.